As someone that's been a raging feminist her whole life, my relationship with it is changing. Welcome to the Pillow Talk podcast, except it's just Kai in bed yapping. The vibe here is that point of a sleepover where you're just lying in bed and things get really sad or funny or political, anything extreme, that's the goal. So, enjoy. It feels so weird. Like, this is probably the most uncomfortable conversation I'm ever going to have because I don't know, this is just so out of my comfort zone, but I think it's a good thing. There's just been so many things pointing to me lately that the label feminism is not really aligning anymore. And I've never really been one for labels, to be quite honest. Labels never really seem to fully encompass who I am, and they never fully seem to explain that aspect of me, whether it comes to religion, sexuality. I've never fully been able to stick to a label. And it's seeming like feminism is starting to feel that way as well. And before you get all angry with me or whatever the feelings you're getting, it's not that I don't agree with feminism. Like I said, my whole life I've been a raging feminist. I love feminists and I still stand for pretty much almost everything that is advocated for in feminism, and I'll never stop acknowledging everything that we've got because of feminism. The only reason I'm able to post on this podcast is because of feminism. The only reason I can one day start a business is because of feminism, or own a car, or buy anything without my husband's permission, or, there's so many little things about life that make it sovereign that feminism has allowed us to have, and I love that so much, and I will never ever disregard that or stop fighting for that. In a lot of parts of the world, women aren't as sovereign as maybe we are, There's still a lot of cultures, a lot of religions, a lot of societies where women still aren't allowed to advocate for themselves or to do anything without a man allowing that. So I know that feminism, the work is still not done. That's why I say, it's not that I'm not a feminist. It's just, I think it's because feminism itself is evolving. It's because I've noticed the thin line between feminism and misandrism, hating men. And I know it's actually such a trend to be a man hater, but I'm not. I'm really not. I love the men in my life, most of them. There's still some out there that are very misogynistic, but whatever. But there are some really good men in my life, and I am not a man hater. Also, I don't want to sound like I am disregarding why women hate men or why women say they hate men, because I feel like usually when women say that, they don't actually mean it. There's a lot of men in their life that they do love. I know that it comes for a good reason because I felt the exact same way, and I still do a little bit. I literally accepted all of this 2 days ago or something. So I'm still in the process of unlearning that. I just won't say that I do hate men and stuff. And that's the first step to unlearning that. I don't know. I just think words have a lot of power. And when we start speaking like that, it's not going to help. I've been through a lot of shit that has also made me hate men. Things have happened to me. Things have happened to my loved ones. I've lost loved ones to men. So it's not that I don't understand why people do it. I really do. I so understand. And I also know that saying this, one of my friends brought this up to me. You know who you are. I love you. About how saying all of this is putting the responsibility back in women's hands. And it's so true. It's so true. And that's honestly the one thing that's making me doubt what I'm saying. It's a very tough situation. And I really do understand that. And that's why I don't expect this to be an easy conversation, right? I'm still struggling with it. This is a very conflicting thing to me. But everything I'm saying in this video is kind of where I've been leaning at the moment. It's what's kind of been resonating with me after lots of thought. Like I say, I've been hearing this for months, and only recently I've started accepting it. I, if anything, am anti-patriarchal and anti-capitalistic. Those are the things that I am against. Almost everything that I am against in this world, the way we do things and stuff, it almost always comes down to patriarchy or capitalism. And so those are the things that I'm actually pretty much against. I'm not against men. One of my first videos I have made in this current YouTube journey of mine, I did speak about the fact that feminism is about equality. But the thing is, feminism is actually more to bring women up in the world because men are already up. So, women needed to be brought up. It's about making women the same level as men. Men are also affected by patriarchy and capitalism. And so when I say I'm a feminist, it sounds like I'm just trying to advocate for women, and I obviously do, but not just for women. I don't want to sound like I'm just advocating for women. So I actually like the idea of rather saying that I'm anti-patriarchal because I don't know if you know this, if there's any men listening, but the patriarchy affects you too.
Also, I am wearing pants, by the way. I feel like this makes it look like I'm not, but anyway.
I heard this thing the other day and it actually blew my mind how true it is. In order to get men to do what the patriarchy wanted, it had to convince men that they were not the ones being affected by it. They were actually on top. The women are the ones being affected. They're the ones that our laws are against, I mean, when patriarchy first started, I actually just watched a video on it. I'll link it below about how patriarchy began. And when patriarchy first started, oh my word, the laws against women? Oh my goodness. Like, I thought it was bad now. Jeez. And I mean, there's still some cultures like that today. But anyway, the patriarchy, especially the name, patriarchy, obviously men are on top, right? And we see that. But the thing is, I don't think patriarchy was ever in favor of men. It's in favor of the ones on top. But yes, it only really allows men to get on top. In that way, it is only favoring men. But any men that is not on top, you are not being favored from the patriarchy. The way this woman was saying it was that all of the like jobs that patriarchy deems a manly and good job, like mining and going to the army, all these dangerous jobs that aren't actually necessary for a society. It's necessary to profit the people on top and to expand what they earn. In that way, patriarchy was like, oh no, but like, don't worry, this isn't against you, men. This is against the women. We're not going to let women have any of this. And like, women don't want that. Neither do men. I mentioned that in that last video, that first one that I made. Patriarchy really convinced men that like these unnecessary jobs that actually just put them at risk and ruin their lives are respectable and they make you a man and they make you valuable. In that way, patriarchy is also against man. It's all just favoring the people on top. And, in more obvious ways, the patriarchy also teaches men that they can't be vulnerable, blah, 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 blah. And that's something I'm going to touch on in this video as well. So with all of that, I realized that feminism is trying to like get women a spot, an equal spot in this patriarchy. So the society built by men, which was also built for men to thrive. We can't ignore the facts. Men and women are different. That doesn't mean that women deserve less. See, that's the point. That's the main thing that got missed in all of it. Someone noticed that men and women are different, but then somewhere along the line it was like,
so women need to be living for men. Women need to be designing their whole life in order to favor men so that they can have a man, serve that man, and live by whatever he says.
Which is fucked up, in my opinion. So yes, men and women are different. And that has to do with our innate energies, masculine, feminine. But the thing is, keep in mind, yin yang is always, like, I live by the yin yang. The masculine's got to have some feminine. The feminine's got to have some masculine. So it's not like each of us is supposed to only be those things, There's a mix. And there's also like different levels for everyone. It's just the way it is. Like, nobody is going to be exactly the same. So keep that in mind. But the masculine energy, think of the sun, 24-hour cycle. It's pretty constant. Think about it. Men can do the same shit every single day and with the same energy. And another thing that actually I heard from a podcast today was the way men literally pass out the minute they go to bed. Like, the minute their head touches their pillow, they like already start twitching and falling asleep. But with women, it's not like that. Think of the sun. It has its 24-hour cycles. So men are very in touch with that masculine energy. But women, we are the feminine. Think of the moon. We have our 28-day cycle just like the moon. And it's very important to get in touch with that. it's very important to know that you're not going to be the same every single day. But the thing is, people will mistaken that for being unpredictable. But the thing is, that's actually very predictable. So now we're getting into hormones and stuff. But with men, so they have like majority testosterone, right? It affects their emotions and stuff. Their testosterone levels go up depending on their environment. So if they are watching rugby, testosterone goes up. If they see a fight, testosterone goes up. If they see guns, testosterone goes up. So it's actually more unpredictable. So I would never say that women are unpredictable. I think that's the most uneducated argument ever. And I also don't think that the unpredictability of male hormones is a bad thing. I don't think that it's something that should stop you from being a leader. But men like to use our hormones as a reason why we can't be a leader. I'll get into that as well. With women, we have a 28-day cycle. We know when certain hormones are going to go down, go up. We know when we are more in need of rest and self-care. New moon, so like when we are menstruating, that is when it's time for introspection. Come inward. Don't put yourself out too much. Don't exert too much power. Now I'm getting too much into cycle syncing, but you get the idea, full moon, full energy. That's when we're in our like ovulatory phase. And yeah, it's actually quite predictable if you start to get in tune with it. But to be honest, I learned this quite recently, and I can't say that I'm very much in my feminine energy. And that's kind of why I'm starting to dissociate from feminism as a label, because I do think I use feminism as an excuse to stay in my masculine. It's like, I don't need men. I don't think I need men either, but that mindset makes me like push it away. It makes me not allow the men around me to be in their masculine, because I am always in my masculine. As much as masculine is a very like leadership, protective, whatever, feminine is very guiding and intuitive. So that's why they go hand in hand, That's also why I don't think only men should be leaders, because women have a very strong intuition. And if you want me to go more into that, I can. But like, come on, we have a portal for life. Like, we literally have a connection to source of life, basically God. We have that connection. And that's not to say that men don't. There is definitely divine masculine as much as there is divine feminine. But you see, with the masculine, that's more to do with your gut. And we also have that gut feeling. But with your gut, it can get very disrupted. I think I must go more in depth in another video. So the womb connection it's very strong. I honestly think that men can be like very productive leaders in terms of taking action and stuff like that. But I think women can be really good spiritual leaders. I think women can also be good leaders in the other aspect. It really depends. Like I said, everyone's got different levels of each energy. So when it comes to masculine and feminine dynamics, the masculine is like leading, but the feminine is guiding. Like I said, everybody's different. Everybody has different levels of these energies, and it doesn't matter on your biological sex. Honestly, I feel like the only way for both men and women to thrive is in a matriarchy with eco-socialism, not capitalism. You can go look that up. I'm not going to go much into that, mostly because I don't know too much about it. Like, I've looked into it and it sounds amazing, but honestly, I don't think I know enough to be talking about it. I envision like a circle of the adults that centralize children. And that's actually what I've heard that matriarchy is. But I know that the word matriarchy can sound like I'm saying that women need to be the leaders and men need to be below women. Like, that's not at all what a matriarchy is, but I understand that the word can sound like that. Honestly, the center of everything should be the children, because they are the future. Hello? The way it is now, it's benefiting these men on top, and it's for money. So no one thinks about the future. No one thinks about how the planet is being destroyed. Future generations are not going to be able to thrive with that. There's this quote, once the last river is dried, once the last tree is cut, we'll realize that we can't eat money. It's difficult to say, like, let's start a new society. You know what I mean? So it's more like we need to implement this in our lives. And, it starts with our relationships. Building this new dynamic. I'm still learning about all of this myself. Like, I'm not coming on here as like an expert in all of this, giving you advice on what you need to do. Like, I'm assuming that we're both just learning this and we can evolve with this together. This is where I'm at. This is the things that have been resonating with me. And I want to start implementing it in my life a lot more. I mentioned earlier that another issue I have is that feminism and misandrism, there's such a thin line between them. Oh, and that's honestly the main thing that's been driving me away. I'm hearing so many feminists say that they hate men. And I'm even hearing some say that they think men should be below them, that they think men deserve less. So some people are hearing this and associating that with feminism. Something that is actually annoying me is that it's not the definition of feminism. The definition of feminism is equality. So I actually get annoyed when people still say that they're a feminist when that's their beliefs, because that's being a misandrist. And I don't blame them. That's another thing. Like, when you're being oppressed, it's so easy to form a hate for the privileged side, right? But that's not going to end the cycle. Nelson Mandela was honestly one of my biggest role models. He chose peace over revenge. But I really hope none of you guys think that I am against feminists. Really. Like, if I have to emphasize anything in this video, it's that my whole life I've been so into it all, and I could never say that I'm against feminism, ever. That is not the goal of this video. I'm not against it at all. I love feminists. And I still embody some feministic ways, and I love that for me. I actually feel like the reason a lot of men that we do see being very masculine, so men that are leading, men that are providing, I feel like the reason things get unhealthy with those men is that they don't accept their femininity. Because like I said, everybody's got a balance of both, right? Not an equal balance necessarily, but everyone's got a bit of both. And the thing is, when men start to ignore that femininity, so ignoring vulnerability and ignoring any emotions you have and ignoring that you may need to receive some help about certain things, I think that's when things get really unhealthy, because it starts to show up in bad ways. And to me, I've noticed it's usually in an aggressive kind of way. And I think that is how things get quite unhealthy, even if it looks like they're following the dynamic that they should be. Men, don't be afraid of the femininity. It doesn't mean that you're any less masculine, and that's where true healthy masculinity comes in, where you're able to accept that femininity because it doesn't take away from your masculinity. If anything, it just allows you to be more masculine, because now none of that pent up femininity is stopping you from being a proper masculine, you know? I am very grateful that I'm able to take care of myself, but there is an imbalance. That's the problem. I haven't really been in touch with my femininity, and it shows up in my relationship. There is some work that needs to be done if I want it to be balanced, and if I want to really feel like I'm living my most abundant life. Because, yeah, I mean, it's not like it was my mom's fault. The man in her life didn't show up, and I need to unlearn that. I need to unlearn the idea that men aren't going to show up for me. But in order for that to happen, I need to start seeing men show up for me. For the men out there, this was for you too. Women are only going to be able to be in their feminine if you start balancing your masculine and feminine so that your masculine can be healthy. And, you know, men can also play a role in dismantling patriarchy. And most of it is by regulating your emotions and recognizing that we're all equal human beings. We're all human beings trying to live this life, you know? No one should be below anybody else.
I also just want to add that this isn't me trying to change anybody's opinions. I know when I first started hearing about any of this a few months ago, it made me upset. And to be honest, I've only started accepting all of this like 3 days ago. So it's very new for me as well, and I'm still figuring it out. So this also isn't like my set opinion. You know, I'm starting a conversation. That's what this podcast is about. I love starting conversations with you guys. So please definitely give me your input. And who knows, my opinion could change. But I really do want to emphasize that my whole point with this video is that I am still anti-patriarchal. Like, that's the label I'm sticking to now. And I think it's because lately I've been dabbling with like the power that language has in our life. Words and the connotation behind them, they do a lot for like what ends up being brought about it or how it gets expressed or whatever. As much as I'm still going to continue being anti-patriarchal and standing against everything the patriarchy does, and as much as that does mostly encompass how it affects women, I don't want to exclude the fact that I'm also fighting for what it does for men. And I feel like when you use the word feminism, it's obviously about women. So I guess I'm just trying to make that more clear and just change my terminology a bit, because I also feel like when you use the word anti-patriarchal, men are more likely to kind of become a part of that and start fighting with us, I guess, because I feel like it's easier to realize that the patriarchy is also against them. So as much as I do still perform feminist acts, I don't want to say that I'm just a feminist, because I stand for more than that. I want to keep in mind that living like a man doesn't necessarily mean that I'm living equally to men. Living like a man isn't necessarily the best thing. Women have different strengths to men. And the more we realize that, the more we can embody those strengths, and the more we can work with men, the more we can actually come together to better the world and to better our lives. Again, this is just something I've been learning right now. It's something I've been dabbling in. Honestly, I see everything as an experiment, guys. Like even this podcast, it's all just been an experiment. Like I'm just seeing what it's going to be like if I'm a podcast host, you know what I mean? I'm just experimenting with what it would feel like if I changed my mindset of it all and used a different word to identify as, I guess. That's why I am still open to hearing your guys' thoughts and open to that changing, you know? But I think in order for that to be a proper conversation, you also need to be open to what I'm saying, you know? And I think a lot of you are. That doesn't mean that your opinion has to change at all. So even if you completely disagree with everything I'm saying, thank you for listening. I know that if you do share your opinions with me, it's because you care about what you believe and potentially care about me. You want me to be enlightened as well. That's also why I share these things. So I'm still anti-patriarchal, and that includes feminism, but I feel like anti-patriarchal, it's way more broad, because honestly, the problems with patriarchy don't just concern women. Yes, women are the main issue. So it's like 80% feminism. Men are also affected by it, and I think if we use the word anti-patriarchal, men can start to recognize that, because it's a system. It's not about men, you know? It's not about genders. It's about that system. And yes, that system does favor men. Like I've already said, sorry, I feel like I'm repeating myself now. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me, which is so stupid. If you know me, you know I'm not going to be a non-feminist. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I hate content that's like,
Feminism is ruining the world.
And I also don't think hating on women is the answer. Just like how I don't think hating on men is the answer. I don't think putting women down is ever the answer. I honestly think the world will thrive so much better if women embody their highest self, because everyone benefits from a highly energetic woman. It's the facts. I also just want to emphasize, like, when I say anti-patriarchal, that also means that I still love the LGBTQ community. I feel like the patriarchy is part of suppressing that, because it just wants heteronormativity, right? Being anti-patriarchal is more inclusive for that, because feminism just sounds like you're just advocating for women. And like being anti-patriarchal, I'm now including men's issues in this and the LGBTQ community. Even like racial sides of it. Or is that maybe more colonialism? No, colonialism is like the source of it all, right? Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like the patriarchy has a role to play in racism as well. But anyway, if I'm wrong, correct me.
Please don't stop standing up for other women, and don't forget that feminism brought us every bit of sovereignty that we have today. Don't forget that, okay? I honestly am so grateful for every feminist that ever existed, and I thank my ancestors constantly. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's Pillow Talk episode. If you have any thoughts, please comment them down below. I want this to be a conversation, like a sleepover. I love you so much. Bye.